RJ, you and I are back in our respective places here. Everything's kind of back to usual for us, unfortunately. Same might be said for the Kraken. This one, at least for season 3, which isn't something we want to be saying towards the end of November, as the Kraken fall 4-3 to the Blackhawks in Chicago. RJ, this was supposed to be one of the gimme games.
Yeah, this is one where you need to get those 2 points. It's okay if maybe you drop a hard-fought game against Vancouver in their last game. You have a few days off. You go take care of business against a team, the Chicago Blackhawks. They're tied with San Jose for the fewest points in the league. We saw where San Jose is at this point, right? The Blackhawks are kind of in that realm. They're right there record-wise. This is a team that you just have to take care of business against. And the Kraken, in many ways, just did not tonight.
No, they did not, and we'll get to all the reasons why, and of course all of your comments here in just a second. But first, of course, welcome back to Emerald City Hockey Postgame Live, presented by Flat Stick Pub. Now, RJ, I went over there for the first time while I was up there in Seattle, and I mean, I got in with less than half an hour before the game started, so I wasn't able to upload all the cool pictures I took. But let me just tell you, everybody, it's way better than I ever imagined. Like, it is so cool in there. I went during the Apple Cup, so it was like on fire to begin with, right? Like, everybody is just doing so much. But the mini golf looked fantastic. The duffel board, RJ. It's like mini golf, but you're like shooting pool kind of, and it's like
I knew you had to see it in person.
I can do that. I can do that. Oh, I'm really excited to do some sort of watch party up there very soon when I'm next up there. But definitely, there's gonna be lots of great stuff coming about Flat Stick Pub when I get all those pictures uploaded, and we can dive into it a little bit more. But just know, everybody, it is so worth it. If you have the chance, go check out one of their 6 locations. Super chats here to start us off. First one from Justin. RJ, Gru's contract, when combined with his play, starting to feel like an anchor around the neck of this team. He was great in the playoffs, but not lately. Now, Gru, of course, coming back to start this one, RJ, not himself, I would say, at least not for how he started off this season, right? Justin mentioning the playoff run last year, he started off this season very strong. Is it fair to wonder if he's maybe just not quite at 100% given some of the goals from tonight?
Well, I mean, yeah, certainly given the fact that the last time we saw him in net, he left the game due to injury, and he's been out since. Chris Drieger was called up, and I do wonder if maybe that was a factor tonight. It's tough, coming back. We don't know what exactly the injury is because that's kind of how these things work. But yeah, it's always difficult, especially as a goalie. I think more than any other position, it's difficult to come back from that. But yeah, it certainly wasn't his best game tonight, and especially in a close game, 4-3, there are at least a couple goals. I think you'd really want your goalie with that kind of contract to make the save on. So, assuming he's healthy and not injured, you would like to see better from him there. And yeah, the contract, it's not good. Like, I think it was bad the day it was signed. I have, strong opinions on the goalie contracts, but still it's not good at the moment.
I was going to say, RJ, in the philosophy of going the running back route with the goaltenders, is well documented at this point. And I will say this, look, I truly don't believe they would put him out there if he was injured. I don't think he would probably put himself out there if he was injured and he really felt like he was going to let the team down kind of thing because he was too hurt to play. But that doesn't mean he's not at 100%, right? Like, you could still be hurt. You could have a nagging injury and still go out there and still not be injured. And I think that's probably what we saw tonight. And yeah, it's just a shame because he started the season so strong, RJ. And whether this was the, not being 100% or maybe just rust from having a week off, this might be one of his worst games this year.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's unfortunate that it, comes in this kind of situation, but I think you're right. I hope that, because athletes, pro athletes, even if they're not 100%, they all feel like they can help the team. They're all competitive. Yeah. Even if they, might be of a disservice to the team because they're not back enough yet, they're all going to tell you as a coach, like, come on, I can play, I can help, I'm fine. It's unfortunately just the job of like the staff to kind of evaluate, like, are they actually okay? It's really difficult to do.
Yes. Were you surprised that we didn't see a goaltending change after, say, the 4th goal?
I guess I was, yeah, given that Hackstall kind of had the hook on Grubauer earlier, when it was clear that he was hurt. I mean, it was kind of clear at that point. 1, it's not his night, and 2, you need to wake this team up.
Yeah.
Like, you can't even blame him for which one was the 4th one? Was that the
The
backdoor
fourth
one?
one is the wraparound backdoor one.
Yeah, I don't think you can really blame him on that. The whole defensive sequence was a mess. You need to just wake the whole team up. I think a goalie change there would have been beneficial.
That's what I was thinking too. And I get the idea of starting him on this one, right? Like it is Chicago. You're not necessarily thinking this is the toughest team on the road trip. This is a good one to get Grew back in the game. But even the very first goal, RJ, right? That's on Lars. Look, Lars is caught out there. They were trying to get the change. He gets stuck out there. He's been out there for a long time. He's gassed. All defensemen kind of turn into statues when they're that tired, but still, I mean, he let two Blackhawks get right behind him, and then they were able to kind of pick Grew apart on the first goal. After you see that fourth one, I think it's, it's a fair assessment to say, yeah, the defense needed to be woken up to kind of help out down there. You look at the shot chart for the Blackhawks in this one, and it's just all in and around Grubauer, and that's something that the Kraken had been doing such a better job of lately, and there's not tonight. But thank you very much for the super chat, Justin. Good comment there. Another super chat here from Schultz. Had to score on the 5-on-3. Given how poop emoji the power play was, there was absolutely no chance 6-on-5. Can't give a 2-goal head start. We weren't playing the Kraken. Oh man, RJ, if only we could play ourselves.
Well, you might say the Kraken played themselves tonight.
True. That is true. The 5-on-3, that was, I mean, talk about a gift. The Blackhawks are trying to give you this game, right? The Blackhawks, like you said, they're down there in that Sharks territory standings wise. I would not say they're as bad as the Sharks, but based on this game, it sure looks like they have a discipline problem. Maybe that's contributing why they're losing so many games. And that 5-on-3, I mean, that is like a godsend in, late in a 1-goal game if I've ever seen one. And the Kraken just did nothing with it.
Yeah, they kept moving the puck just around the outside. You got to force the issue and just get a little bit lower, even if you are taking, because they attempted 2 shots on that. Yes. They had no shots on goal through the full minute plus 5-on-3, which, kind of inexcusable. But the shot attempts they're both from up high, but when you're 5-on-3, you can sneak those guys down low. And even if you are getting a point shot from a guy at the point, that can still be at the top of the circles. And you should be able to have a clear lane because you should get the pass across really quick. They called a timeout to draw something up. And I don't know what exactly it was they tried drawing up, because after, maybe the first look and everything kind of got a bit chaotic again, it seemed like there was no plan. They weren't sure who was supposed to be the trigger man and what play they were supposed to be going with. I don't know. Maybe you have a keener eye for these things. Maybe you figured something out, but I had nothing.
Nope. I'm right there with you. I was like, what? That's what? Like, it didn't make sense. And it was on a night in which your power play goes 0-for-5, which is, a big oof. And look, the power play has been great. It was number 8 in the league going into this game. So not necessarily here to just rag on the power play, but you went 0-for-5 tonight, and it got progressively worse as the game went on. Right? Like, I thought the first couple power plays in the first period were by far and away their best ones tonight. It just kind of looks. Yeah, it just devolved as the game went on, and I'm not quite sure what that's about, but it looked like more and more guys were hesitant to shoot the puck. It was, well, let's pass it back to the point. And it's like, no, that's what we were doing when the power play was bad. Like, we had gotten away from that. Guys were taking shots. Maddie was scoring on the power play. They were taking shots from the side. Like, that's what works. The puck movement, I felt like, wasn't there. That dynamic puck movement that we were starting to see from the Kraken power play that was helping lead to goals. And like I said, this one, it was just back to the point, let the point person figure it out. And really that just meant hold on to it until he's pressured, and then he sends it right back over to the guy on the half boards.
Yeah, I mean, one theory I have too, was it their second or third power play for Chicago where they got a few chances shorthanded coming back at the Kraken after a few misplays, and I think that may have scared them a little bit, just being afraid to make any kind of risky play because it's going to come back at your net and you can't afford to give up a shorty. I think that might have been in their heads a little bit.
Yeah, that's a good point there. And then the 6-on-5 too. Oh, that was. I mean, everybody take notes if you're ever coaching youth hockey or you're coaching at the NHL level. That's how you defend a 1-goal lead late in the game. Just look at what the Blackhawks were able to do there, because the Kraken were just not able to force that issue at all.
Yep.
Not much more to be said about it.
Yeah.
Super chat here from Light. Thank you very much. Matty points, Wenny goal, Cart's goal. but at what cost, RJ? At what cost?
Yeah, I
Oh,
mean, we're still not sure the full cost, given that Jaden Schwartz also was out of the game. He left, did not come back. They ruled him out really fast too,
very
so it
fast.
makes me worry about that for sure, especially in a close game that he's ruled out that quickly. So at what cost could mean even greater than we know.
Well, and look, we talked about this with Grubauer earlier, potentially not being at 100%. Jaden Schwartz now getting hurt. This was something that struck me as we were watching it, and we can maybe touch on this tomorrow on the deep dive when we recorded, RJ. But the Kraken, of all the things, so much talk about the shooting percentage and all that kind of stuff regressing this year, and how can they offset that? We talked a lot last year. They were unusually healthy, and this year they really have not been. With the multiple injuries to Turbo, you get Schwartz now. Berkey's been in and out of the lineup, right? Like you've got Bjorkstrand, maybe not even 100% in this game. I mean, so many guys. Like the list I could just keep going with the list of guys for the Kraken so far this year, and it is starting to make me wonder beyond just Grubauer tonight. And I know this isn't about Schwartz as much, but how many of these guys are playing with nagging injuries? And for an example of how that can affect play, look at Jamie Alexiak this year when he's finally at 100%. Right? He's playing lights out. He's playing fantastic hockey. And it really does make you go back and you look at those other times in the past when we've been more critical of him or his play hasn't been at this level. And you go, okay, those nagging injuries, they really do make a difference in the level of performance that somebody can go out there with. And it just feels like, RJ, right now, the Kraken, and I don't, don't know any of this for sure, but just based off of the guys kind of having to go in and out of the lineups, really feels like the Kraken might just be trying to work through things. A lot of guys.
Yeah, and this time of the season, especially with the Kraken just trying to string wins together, it can be tempting to try and stay in the lineup and play through whatever. Especially when, look, if Schwartz is going to miss time, I mean, like that's Marian Studenic into the lineup, someone who I don't think we really planned on getting a lot of games for the Kraken this year. So there is that desperation there, I think.
There's definitely an element of that. Now, on the flip side, back to the beginning of Light's comment, because we know Light, and I think Light's also trying to look on the positive side of things here.
The
You
lighter
get
side
two,
of things.
yes, I know. I wasn't going to go for the obvious,
All
but
right,
all right. Maddie does pick up a couple points in this one. RJ gets another goal. That's always great to see from him, especially because he has been really starting to wake up and get hot here these last couple weeks. Wenberg, the big question, RJ, did he shoot that puck? Or did he just kind of guide it towards the net?
Oh, actually, I was going to say, yeah, he shot the puck. He certainly wasn't passing it, but I guess guiding it toward the net kind of makes more sense. And also looking back, and I tweeted about this, Mrazek, I don't know what he was doing angles wise on that play. Like Wenberg had the angle to shoot and score. He had like 2 or 3 feet of net the whole way in. It just was when he wanted to get rid of it. So I think he waited till the last second when he had the entire net open, but like it was there. So I guess maybe guiding it would be more fair.
Yes. And then Cartier kind of continuing things too. Look, the effort level from Cartier has been there all along. We know that's why they kind of fell in love with him last year in the playoffs, the coaching staff and the front office. And it's really nice to be able to see that start to pay off for him on the score sheet, RJ, because he's out there doing that night in, night out. That's one of those things that sticks with you when you watch games in person, which I was able to do this last week.
Yeah, I like seeing the Matteo Kart 7 line back together. And that's one of the things that Hackstall knows he can go to if he needs a jump from some of the guys. And I like seeing that being rewarded because I think he'll maybe go to it a little bit more in the future if he needs to.
Yeah. All right. So back up to the beginning of chat now, and we'll start dancing through there. James kicking it off. Time to quit saying they played down to competition. The Kraken just stink. Oof,
I have been getting some pushback on those comments because the last few games I've been talking about playing down to inferior competition, and there's always some comments like, "Well, who's inferior, really?" I mean, after long enough, but we see what they can do against good teams and when they play well. So that's why I keep saying it. But the Blackhawks are not a good team. I still think the Kraken are certainly better than them. They were not engineered to tank like Chicago was. You have to beat these teams.
You do. And I guess, look, they did not play down to the Sharks level. So that would be another, it's kind of the other side of that argument of they didn't.
I don't know if it's possible for that group to play down to the Sharks level.
They'd have to really be injured. I mean, we were just talking about the age, the Coachella Valley Firebirds look about on par with the the Sharks at the NHL
Yeah.
level. But yeah, I don't know. I'm still not willing to go so far as to say that this team is bad. You look at, going into yesterday, they were in the top 10 as far as possession, analytics go, creating shots, limiting opposing teams. They just don't finish a lot of that. And how much of that is bad luck versus them just maybe not being the most talented when it comes to finishing ability? I'm still on the luck. I mean, tonight, RJ, there were so many chances. That sequence in the second period where it was just all around Mrazek and they just could not get it home. Or is that for the first period? Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
No, there were a lot of looks like that where Mrazek made some really good saves, and for the goals he let in, sometimes being a little bit soft. The saves he made kind of made up for that too. I mean, there were certainly chances where some puck luck, could have made it go the other way.
Yeah, so I'm still kind of there with this team. I'm not quite willing to go into the whole they stink column. Light with
Yeah,
another super chat. Oh, what?
no, I was just gonna say, Byron, RJ, can you please stop challenging the Kraken to look worse? So I'll think about it from that angle. Sorry.
It's a very fair comment. Light with another super chat here. I agree with Dylan. I'm just going to stop right there. I'll just leave that at that. No, I think a lot of the team is probably hurt. I really think that's why we don't see a lot of fighting. Though that Donnie one, drama.
Oh, we get to this one now.
We get to talk about it because that is going to, really be the thing I think sticks with everybody from this game. That whole brawl after the Blackhawks get in Grubauer's face. They take a couple extra pokes at the puck after he's frozen it, right? It's under him. And emerging from all of that is Brian Dumoulin with Ryan Donato. And really, RJ, I'm gonna contend that Dumoulin was protecting Donato from Grubauer at that point, more so than anything, is what it looked like, because he kept positioning himself between Grubauer and Donato as they were jawing at each other.
Yeah, Gru was going at him too, and with the helmet coming off, he was angry about that. And it's the phenomenon of angry Gru. We see it like maybe once a year. I remember once, like year one against Montreal, we saw it, but it's very rare that you see it. So when I saw him react to that play, I knew, okay, we're getting angry Gru. Like alarms going off. Let's go clip this video, whatever. And I look over at the guy that he's mad at, and I see Ryan Donato. And my mind just explodes. I was not sure how to deal with that. Aside from I need to get the video and post it and try and think of something to say about this. It seems self-explanatory, for Kraken fans. But just in chat, let us emotionally, how did you handle that? Like, how did everybody handle that? Because it's just, I don't know. It was so unexpected.
I mean, I know on the Discord, everybody was all over the place there just because it was. I mean, it's just not what you expect. It's very rare to see that kind of happen. I will say this, though. Kraken standing up for their goaltender, right? Like they did the thing. Yes. Again, McCann is arguably the one doing it the most, which I still don't like. Please protect your hands, dude. The team needs them. But you know what? Like that was a pleasant sight to see. Maybe the team bonding yesterday maybe helped with some of that, RJ. So there was that aspect of it. But yeah, that was not something I had on my 2023-2024 Kraken bingo card. Was Philip Grubauer trying to fight Ryan Donato.
I know, it's crazy. Gary saying Donnie isn't on the team anymore, so I'm fine with it. Fusion Mix says excitement, misconducts. There's a lot of excitement with that. So also Grubauer takes a penalty for unsportsmanlike conduct there. His first ever unsportsmanlike conduct penalty of his career. Kind of goes without saying that he hadn't done that before, but it's the third penalty of his career. The second one happened November 2nd, so less than a month ago. And I remember when that happened, it was so crazy because that's the second penalty of his career. The last one happened in 2016. And after the game, I let him know. Yeah, I said, this is the second penalty of your career. Did you know that? And he's like, no, I figured it probably didn't get too many. I said, yeah, the last one happened in 2016. So like 7 years ago. And he said, oh, that's good. It means I got a while till my next one. So maybe not as long as he thought.
Well, it depends on what he meant by a while and to whose perspective, right? To a housefly.
It's all relative.
That was 3 lifetimes. So I'm just saying. All right. Let's see here. Bahrain, 6-on-5. No one appears to be even in a position to take a shot. What are they even trying to do? I think that 6-on-5 thing is going to sting for a little while. Alongside us, Shazzle Dazzle is pointing out here, 0 for 5 on the power play. I know we touched on that already. That's a rough one. B, that power play is looking pretty sad, huh? Again, they were 8th in the league going into the game, so
like overall it's been good. Just tonight was kind of an off. Again, I think they got scared by those chances against. They didn't want to make mistakes.
Yes, I agree with you. And do you think that goes back to the game against the Canucks?
Oh, you know what? It might.
Because
I mean, certainly after the shorty in the first period,
yes,
that kind of stuff can stick in your mind. I wouldn't be surprised.
Mm-hmm.
That was the case.
So there's that there. Lindsay, 2 things can be true. The Kraken forgot how to play defense, and Philip Grubauer should not have started that game. I think you could start it, but maybe, like I said, maybe he doesn't finish or something. Because I will say, I kind of agree. 2 of these goals I'd put on the defense, RJ. 2 of them I'd put on Grubauer.
Yep, I agree with that split. I'm sure we agree on what the goals were. I was surprised to see this morning Grubauer get the start, though. I had kind of penciled in Joey on the lineup graphic. I always kind of predict before things are announced that we know. And I didn't think they'd throw him back in this soon after coming off an injury.
Yeah, well, that's why Vegas doesn't call you for these things. I think the one thing would just be like, well, it's Chicago, right? Like maybe that's
you want to help him build confidence.
Yes, like are you going to throw him out there against Toronto?
Yeah, that's true. That is the tougher matchup,
right? It makes more sense to do this game, I guess. And maybe they're worried about overworking Joey. I don't know. George, maybe
crazy problem to have.
I know.
Going into the season, you wouldn't think.
No, maybe the critics are right. Maybe last year was a fluke, and that's okay. It's only the 3rd year. Hopeful for the offseason in Ron we trust. Like there's still time. They're still in and around everything. It's just they got to figure out whether it's the finishing or the defense or more consistent special teams. Realistically, they probably need to figure out 2 of those 3 things in order to get the ball rolling in a more consistent positive direction, RJ. But at the end of the day, you're right there around the wild card spot still.
Yeah, you are. I mean,
not over.
Still right. It's not over. And especially just given the way the rest of the conference is gone. I mean, there might be a team that makes it with like 90 points or something this season. That line could be really low. And with the in Ron we trust part, I'm with you on that sentiment. And also this team, I've talked about it in my armchair GM chats. They have not reached their final form, and they cannot reach it until after the next offseason. That's when the cap becomes available. That's when they can make a big move. They're still limited this season as compared to what they'll be next season.
Yep. Joyful here. This team is the definition of insanity. Every chance they get, they dump and chase with the same result. The offensive philosophy needs to be changed, and Carl agreeing dump and chase needs to go away for a while. There was an element of that to this one, RJ. I mean, really, I mean, credit to the Blackhawks for some of this. They were doing a great job of defending through the neutral zone. The Kraken were having a hard time getting clean zone entries. That being said, we've seen the Kraken kind of struggle with this all 3 years now, whether it's on the power play or 5-on-5. Really, that Matty Beniers line was the one line kind of able to really just kind of push their way through. You look at the Matty goal, right? And what Jared McCann was able to do. He really took it along the boards as much as he could. He knew he was getting closed in on, and he wasn't going to have a play to make in front of him, but he does that nifty little dump pass off the boards back to Matty, and you're able to generate obviously a quality chance. Matty's able to get a goal off of it. I think they do need to get a little bit more creative with some plays like that, RJ.
Yeah, I mean, that's the blueprint. You saw it a lot last year when they put up 8 against, was it 8 or 9? Yeah, 8 against Chicago last year in Chicago. I mean, a lot of plays that looked kind of like that. Mrazek in net, it was kind of a familiar look. I think also one thing that can happen too, when in the start of the game and then a little bit later too, I would categorize a lot of that as an effort issue, like the goals against and everything. Just the effort wasn't there. It was a slow start. And I think one of the things that it can be tempting to do, certainly like from a coaching perspective, if the effort problem is there, is just to try and simplify, like get pucks in, you hear the players say it all the time, get pucks in deep, go chase them, get to work. And that can kind of help you get back on your game. And I think that might've been what was going on there.
I was a little, I was on the Discord going like, maybe Hack calls a timeout here after that second goal, like, you regroup or whatever. And I will say this, I was wrong because I believe at that time, let me see what the time was on the goal. Yeah, you're really close to like next stoppage being a TV timeout. And I think Hack knew that and was waiting for that, or at least I'm going to say that I hope that that's what the case was,
Mhm.
because that would be a smart thing to do. And to be honest, they looked much better after that next TV timeout. So I do know that he at least used that wisely. That was clear. But I think you are onto something there. And then with the effort level, as Sean's saying, playing 40, maybe 45 minutes out of 60 is unacceptable. We keep hearing about how great this team is with expected goals. So what? If they're not actual goals, they do not matter. I know it's kind of two things. There's the finishing stuff that we talked about earlier, but it was another game, RJ, where the team just wasn't there from an effort level throughout. And it's mind-boggling for me to see this. That would have been the last thing I would have said the Kraken ever need to worry about after last season.
Right. It wasn't in their DNA at all. And it just keeps coming up. We see it again tonight. Whenever it feels like they're past it, it comes back up. I don't know what to say about it aside from that it needs to change. It's an effort thing. Like, it's not X's and O's. We can't break these plays down. I don't know. I'm kind of at a loss for words at this point.
No, it is.
But even though, because in the comment it mentioned 40 to 45 minute game. Like, I think if they had played a 45-minute game, they probably win this one. I think it was less than that tonight against the Blackhawks. You can get away with a 45-minute game. I think the Kraken just didn't even really bring that.
It depends on if part of that 45 minutes included any of the 5 power plays. That's maybe. Yeah. Let's see here. Coop done shooting a wrister on a 5-on-3 directly into a defender in front of him when McCann is wide open next to him, begging for a one-timer is hilariously bad. This is a problem that I have noticed with the Kraken, and it was made even more clear to me watching them in person last week, RJ, and that is the fact that every single member of this Kraken team, when they are on the power play, will wait for a puck, receive the puck, pick their head up, look directly in front of them as a defender gets into their shooting lane, and then they rifle it right into said defender. Just shoot it. Just watch the puck in and go for the one-timer, right? Don't settle it. Don't look up. And certainly if you're going to take that time, know that a defender's already there. Go for a shot fake, go for something. But at what point do you just keep rifling it into shin pads over and over, RJ?
I am totally with you on this. I mean, that's part of the decisiveness we talked about at the end of last year, where they just need to be more decisive with the puck whenever they get it, whether that's like making a pass to someone who's open to one time or just shooting it yourself. And it's something I thought the Kraken were really good at over the last, few weeks. I mean, that's why the power play was a lot better. I think you were seeing that from like even a guy like Vince Dunn, same guy who threw it in the shin pads today. Like, I have a hard time criticizing the power play too strongly. It was really bad tonight, but it feels like it's not what they've been this season.
Yes, agreed. George, would have been a bold move, but I'm wondering why we didn't pull the goalie a little earlier during the 5-on-3 and go 6-on-3. Our power play needs all the help it can get. That would be an extremely bold move, RJ. And I don't know that Hackstall's that kind of guy, but I mean, that certainly would have been an option. It would have been kind of a fascinating approach to take.
Yeah, I think there was 7 or 6 minutes, something like that left in the game. And I mean, it's a better opportunity than you're probably going to have going 6-on-5, even for 2 or 3 minutes. I think there's something to be said for that. I don't know if there's, analytics calculations for that. Because the thing with it being shorthanded is the other team's going to have free shots at the empty net. Yeah. But when you only have 3 on the ice, it's going to be really hard to get that lane. Heck, you could just even have the extra skater be on the point and kind of just be looking for any kind of lane that they would have to send it all the way down. Right. I think 6-on-3, you can be dominant enough that you don't have to worry about being scored on.
Well, and 6-on-3, let's say they do get the puck. They're not thinking I need to get a shot. They're thinking I just need to get it clear so I can get a change.
Anywhere.
Anywhere.
Clear it anywhere.
I just need to get it out of the zone so I can get off the ice right away. They're not going to try to line anything up. They're going to be going boards and out and all that kind of stuff. They're not looking for a shot.
The difficulty then is if the guy, if you don't score, the guys come out of the box, you might want to have a skater kind of edge toward the bench and get the goalie back on if you can.
Yeah, well, yeah.
We don't really see that, but you'd want to do that if it got to be, 6-on-4 potentially.
Well, I was just going to say, what you could do is you had 1:03 on the clock. You could have done it, and you could have told somebody, hey, when there's 10 seconds left, we're going to start screaming like crazy from the bench. You get back to the bench. Gru's going to come on, and that gives them enough time to get back into the net. It'd be.
Boy, have you seen that before?
I've never seen something.
I can't remember that.
But it would be so.
You must be able to do the goalie pull in reverse, right? There can't be any rule against it, right?
Why not?
Yeah. All right.
Nobody's probably ever tried it, so there's probably not a rule for it, RJ.
Yeah, that's how these things work. Yeah.
It's usually how it works. Lindsay, time to make a trade. Here's my problem. I still don't know what the trade would be on the Kraken's end, right? You need finishing. Everybody wants finishing. I don't know who's realistically available for you in that regard. I the
The
defense.
only
I,
option,
I
the
don't
only
know.
option I think is just to send a message trade. And that means maybe
Yeah.
moving a guy like Wenberg. We talked about that, a couple of weeks ago on the podcast as a potential option. It's not the kind of trade that's going to make you better right away, but hopefully it's the kind of trade that would maybe unlock, some of the effort there that would solve those issues and at least send a message to the guys. And especially with Wenberg scoring recently now, maybe you could sell high. I don't know. But still, that's the only, I don't see them making a trade realistically that could make them get better right now.
I don't know what it would be. Fusion Mix Gru needs to get angry, I guess. It is true, RJ did not allow a goal after all the shenanigans went down, after he went after Ryan Donato like that.
That's true. That's true. I don't know how many shots he faced after that. Wasn't that kind of later in the game?
Yeah, but he didn't allow a goal, RJ. That's
That's true. Yeah. No, fair enough. Fair enough.
I will say this, face-offs have been corrected to be 50-50. Kraken had won the face-off battle, but now there's been a stat correction to 50-50. So again, if only they had been slightly worse, RJ, they could have won this game. I know. Let's see. Kraken Hawk, another loss. We've got to get this in gear. Otherwise, we'll be out of playoff contention by Christmas. Is there, because you talked about the Thanksgiving thing a lot, is there a similar stat or something like that for Christmas and or New Year's, RJ?
I mean, I suppose, I don't know that there's one that's like widely available. Like, you could, of course, just compile that. Like, there are programs necessary to compile that. Yeah, but I'm not. I think New Year's is the other one that I've seen that people will point out. I mean, it's close enough. It's like 6 days away, from Christmas, so it's close enough. But I think New Year's is another one that they'll look at. Just given what the teams around them are doing, I don't know that the Kraken really can be totally out of it even by New Year's. I mean, unless some of these other teams really catch fire, but they're not. I mean, this is a really weak wild card race in the Western Conference.
It really is. So that's why there is still hope, everybody. Don't need to write them off yet. Let's see. Ben, forever the team that allows 2-goal comebacks instead of generating their own. They did get back and they tied it 2-2, RJ. And I'm trying to remember because Kate Sheffield,
with that stat, the Kate,
had that, and they had never come back from a 2-goal deficit. Now they come back in this one and they're able to get the 2 goals. You ultimately end up losing the game, but they did it.
Yeah, they did. It's a first this season. I mean, that would have been a fun narrative had they, came back and won the game. Like, they'd never done it. They did it twice, in the game. And they end up winning. That would have been great. But yeah, at least they did that. I mean, I was happy with the response at the end of the first period because it felt like they woke up. They were just in shambles at the start of the game. And thankfully, again, against some teams, that'll be enough to put you away. They could even score 3 or 4, right? But against Chicago, like a 2-goal deficit is something you can come back from because, as you mentioned, like the Kraken, they can't play themselves, but you can play a team like Chicago that is maybe on that level with the 2-goal lead defensively, and you can do it. And they did it. You just need to continue that on to the second period. And I really thought they were going to. Also, it felt like they had figured everything out.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Striatic, it's official. Should have done team building over mini golf at Flat Stick Pub. Agreed all day long. That was the answer. Hockey Fork, at what point do they call it a day? They have good trade assets for the deadline, and it's a top-heavy draft. Not much benefit for the mushy middle. I know we were just saying that there is hope and all that kind of stuff. RJ, for you, I mean, look, they would have to really be out of it at the deadline for me to think that Ron would go that direction.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you have to look at the larger context. We talk about the 3-year season ticket plans with all of that going on. There's no way unless, they're at the very bottom of the standings. If you're below, Chicago, Minnesota, if you're in that neighborhood still, then maybe you do it. But otherwise, you have to give this team a shot.
Yep. And just because we had just been talking about Flat Stick, Ben saying duffel board rules, I'm gonna have to try to play. It was so crowded, I couldn't get in for a game. There were so many Cougar fans there, RJ. They had the Alumni Association was at Flat Stick. It was a lot of that, and then a few Husky fans. It was very interesting to watch the game in that environment, let me tell you. Burnt Krem, something has to give. The coach, the $6 million goalie, or the general manager. Year 3 of season tickets expiring very quickly. It's an interesting little standoff to imagine there, RJ. The end of a Western The three of them.
Yeah. A group hour with some bags of money.
I got money on Gru in that, to be perfectly honest. After tonight, him going after Donato, I'd have my money on Gru.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. I still got my money on Ron Francis.
I know.
In that. I can't bet against him.
It's fair, very fair. Rebecca missed everyone the last post game due to being at the game. I'm truly overdue for some therapy. Well, it's good to have you back, Rebecca. Even if it was for the post game after this game. Let's see. Coop, I bet they'll say Gru's injured again. This is where we're getting into the Gru stuff. One more time.
Skimming Twitter to see if there's any updates on that, but I haven't seen any quotes from Hack.
I really don't think we'd see something unless he's like legit injured and they're gonna have to call back up Drieger. I don't think they'll say anything.
Yeah, I haven't.
Again, what are you gonna say? He's not quite 100%, but we're gonna still roll with it.
Yeah, but we put him in anyway. Yeah,
what team can say that, right? Like you just can't. So I don't.
I feel like he tweets something, but we left him in the whole game. You can't. Yeah, I guess you can't really.
Yeah, no. Talk about like a fireable offense if you're a coach in any sports league. That would be one. Let's see here. I'm just jumping down because so much chat here. So I'm going to jump down. If I skipped anything, you can feel free to throw it in the end. Random positive note. This is from James. I was randomly thinking about while watching you guys and seeing your backgrounds because I don't really want to think about the Kraken. ECH logo is absolutely fire. That it is.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let's see. Our power plays are not indicative of us ever being number 6 in the league for power play goals from Chip. It is kind of interesting to think about in a weird way, right? Because we have talked about they don't always. I think it was James earlier in chat who was saying, I didn't read it out loud, but I saw it where they don't do a lot of the guys playing the half boards don't do a lot of cross zone passes. They never use the bumper, RJ. I'm still convinced. Like, what is the point of having a bumper player in this power play? I don't really know. That goes for most power plays, by the way. Like, very few teams utilize them. But remember that play that Arizona had, RJ, where they did like kind of a give and go with the guy in the bumper spot. Like the Kraken used that a couple times afterwards, but it would be interesting.
They took that
really
play.
Worked in. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see that worked in a little bit more because I feel like especially with the players, they tend to stick there. They've got the ability to do that.
Yeah, they have it. I mean, like you have a guy like Oliver Bjorkstrand who can work that bumper spot. I mean, they've tried Matty Beniers in that bumper spot. He's as smart as anybody and has quick hands as anybody. I'd like to see more. I mean, I've been saying this for years. I don't know. I know. I just don't think it's going to happen.
Yes. Christian with the Winter Classic question. Does the starting goalie play the entire game or do they switch goalies so the other goalie has a chance to play in a unique game? No, coaches treat it like it's any other hockey game. And that's what they preach. That's how they try to coach it. So the starting goaltender, unless there's an issue, will usually finishes the game.
That would be nice. So that's what the Canucks should have done with Eddie Lack and Roberto Luongo back in the day. Instead of having Luongo just, be all disappointed on the bench there.
Yeah, it is true. That would have been good.
They were friends. It would have worked.
Yes, it would have. It would have. More about the power play. I'm not making it up. They were 8th in the league going into the game. I promise. I know it looked terrible tonight. Let's see. Everybody talking about now the Winter Classic in there. I mean, I still can't get over the jerseys. You're gonna have to go around RJ now that they've been released and see how many people have them.
I was there. Actually, I was at KCI today because I was coming back from SeaTac and I took the light rail up. So I just stopped and worked at KCI for like an hour and a half, and I stopped by the shop. Saw him in person. Gorgeous. Absolutely love them.
They're so fantastic. Coop, how does McCann, our best shooter, not get one shot chance that last whole power play? They do need to let him rip a little more.
They didn't tee him up. I mean, that's what it was.
They didn't. Super chat here from Rand. Thank you very much. It's Giving Tuesday. Our team is bad, but RJ and Dylan and the animals are awesome. Thanks, guys. You are very welcome, Rand. Thank you very much for the super chat and the kind words. Really appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rand.
I was gonna say, where'd you go? Yes, you. Oh, it's good to be back with her too. I had like 20 minutes before the game to be like, hi. All right, so I'm just gonna go down to the bottom of the chat. Everybody, feel free to put back in any comments that you have or anything like that, and I'll get to them here. Giving Tuesday is the only thing, and the Kraken are giving me is a stomach ache. Oh no, Lindsay, don't say that. Let's see, Anthony, why does it seem like the D are more active and maybe a little more conservative with Joey versus Gru? Feels like maybe they have more confidence with Gru, so they leave him defend for himself. Now, this is something that was talked about last year, RJ, when Martin Jones was in net, and everybody was like, why does the D always seem to play better in front of Martin Jones? Like, what's the deal here? What's going on? Does the fact that it's now two different goaltenders make you think make you think that maybe there is something there?
Yeah, we see this though. I've got to check. Like, it'd be great if I could just aggregate all the Kraken goalies that are not Philip Grubauer. So take Drieger, take Martin Jones, take Joey Daccord all together, and just look at the stats together. I'm sure there's some way I could easily do that. Like, Hockey Reference, just put it up on Excel or something. But also looking at the goal support, and then just the expected goals against per 60 or something, because it does feel like there's a difference.
Yeah, no,
no matter who else the goalie is.
It's getting tough to say. And for a while I thought, well, look, Gru is a very angles-based goaltender. He likes to play his angles. He'd want to see that and be able to square up to the puck. So maybe they leave open shooting lanes a little bit more for him. But this isn't really that. You know what I mean? Like, this is just guys get behind them. Guys get in and around Gru's crease a lot more than they ever seem to get in front of Joey. And that is a kind of strange that we keep seeing that. Sean, Calgary's on a roll, Edmonton's on a roll, Nashville's playing better. All of these teams are beating teams they should not be beating, yet here are the Kraken with terrible effort after team bonding. And then also Minnesota looked pretty good tonight as well. Are we maybe being a little myopic here? This is not looking good for the Kraken. Now, I will say there's also some teams that are, Vancouver's looked shaky outside of playing us. Vegas is in like a death spiral right now. They can't score a goal to save their lives. Look, Minnesota, that's just a coaching change. Every team gets a bump when you do something like that. It probably doesn't stay the whole season. I'm still not bought in on, say, Nashville, Edmonton. We knew they were going to get better at some point. Calgary, I'm still on the fence about, but they tend to prove me wrong whenever I am. So I take that for what you will.
Yeah, no, I think also just look, loser points keep the standings close. Like, that's kind of how the system is designed for parity. It's a long time before you're actually fully out of it. If not for the loser points, Kraken would be in real trouble. But thankfully for them, this season, it's helping them stay in it. I mean, they are what, tied for third last in the league? No, it's tied for second last in the NHL in regulation wins.
Yeah, I know.
Ahead of only Montreal.
Yeah, there you go.
One of the teams they're tied with is Toronto, though, their next opponent.
Well, hey, that's not so bad, actually. Nicole, average fans don't care about building or 3 or 5 year plans. Hyping up what happened last season and fans seeing this as a result will not get people in the building or honestly watching in general. Now, the games I was at, RJ, didn't have the best attendance, but I think that can mostly be chalked up to the fact that they were happening the day before and the day after Thanksgiving, people out of town, all that kind of stuff. I do agree with Nicole that, yes, you can't sell fans necessarily on, look, it was a 3 to 5 year play and we were a little ahead of schedule and it's natural to maybe take a step back, but it's okay because we're still working towards something. No marketing department on the face of this planet could ever assemble a team good enough to do that, right? That's just not how it works. I think you can do that to try to sell season ticket plans to people, but I don't think you can do that to general fans. And that is something that, the Kraken also have to be concerned with. On top of the season ticket holder thing, which we've spent a lot of time to talk about, is the idea of, yes, especially with the home record being what it is. We've talked about that again from the season ticket holder standpoint. But if you're, say, someone who, it's an expensive building to get into, you can only afford to go to one game a year. You see this team right now, you're not going to be as fired up leaving that one game.
Yeah, no, it's true. And I mean, I think the home record is certainly a part of it. And then that's, the season ticket thing. Like, and via end, what would the people complaining about season ticket plans even need to see? I see zero plausible ways for them to turn into a contender this year. And that seems to be the only acceptable outcome. I think, maybe it's tough because a lot of the stuff I think is off the ice as well. Seeing the ticket prices, for resale as low as they are. And that's part of it. But, I think seeing a few more wins at home, however that comes about, makes a difference. But Certainly
Yeah.
not like you can like last year, right? They were a lot better on the road than they were at home. And we kind of heard some rumblings of like, well, why can't they do this at home? But I think,
Yes.
if you're a 100-point team, like you can cover
It
for
didn't
that.
matter. Yeah,
It didn't matter, but
people
you can't do it when you're not in a playoff spot.
right. People were on board with that. And look, we just watched this team go, from the 16th RJ to the 22nd. They won 3. They went 3-0-1, right? And they picked up a ton of points. They played fantastic. They were beating up on teams. You get a win in Vancouver, all that kind of stuff. Like, and we were all way up here with it, right? And they're totally climbing the standings. Everything's fine. I'm trying not to look at this as like a 2-game sample size, right? Just the Vancouver game and this one, and get too upset about it. And that's I think an important thing to remember. One of the things that Coach Hackstall talked about while I was up there was Darren of Sound of Hockey was asking about Hackstall has referenced what does he call them, sequences or sections of a season? Segments. That's, thank you very much. And Hackstall was talking about, he looks at it in 5-game segments. The entire season, he breaks it down into 5-game segments, and you want to get 6 out of those 10 points. And if you get 6 out of 10 points over the course of those 5-game segments out through 80 games, and then you've got 2 bonus games on top of that, you make the playoffs, right? And so if you kind of look at that with what the Kraken have been doing right now for their last 5-game segment, they've got 5 of those 6 points. It's not that bad. That's still right around playoff pace. So there's still elements of that. And look, winning fixes everything. They get a couple wins in a row. I think all of us will be feeling better.
Yeah, I think so. I see a super chat from Rayanne. I'm glad, actually. Thank you, Rayanne, for the super chat. Because I was going to go and try and dig. I saw you commented earlier in the chat with this too, and I thought it was a good comment, so I wanted to bring it up. But so thank you for the super chat. But the team isn't bad. They're playing bad.
Yeah.
And I think that is an important distinction to make, because we talk about the team on paper, and I think certainly when you get kind of doom and gloom about like, look, you're losing to Chicago, maybe they are just bad. I really do think they're playing bad. And when you play bad, you can lose to any team, but this is still so close on paper to a team that was a 100-point team last year.
It is. And it's that's, I think, partly what I was thinking when I brought up the idea of how many of these guys are playing at less than 100% right now, because it does that would be like an explanation for that, right? Why else would this team be playing the way that they are? It doesn't make sense after last season. It certainly doesn't make sense from the effort standpoint, unless maybe they're just kind of not physically capable of doing it at the moment. So that's, I'm kind of right there with both of you as well. They are playing worse than they are constructed.
Yeah, and like I said, I think tonight makes for a good comparison, because I think Chicago, even though they got the win tonight, they are bad. Like if you look at them as far as what is their path to making the playoffs, there is nobody on that roster you can point to and be like, yeah, they're going to bring the production that you need to go to the playoffs. And I think you saw that with the Kraken in year 1. It became clear, okay, they are bad. They are just a bad team. They don't have the horses. This team's different.
It is different. Agreed 1,000%. Kaylin with the super chat. Hi, Afra. Lots of Afra comments. Oh, I've been waiting to do this. We've got some new treats for you, Afra. There you go. Go enjoy that. Enjoy that. It's good to be back. Good to be doing this again, for sure. Coop with a repeat comment. Maddie won every single power play or big face-off tonight. That's such a good sign. He decided to focus on it over the summer and got way better. This bodes very well for his future and his next focus. I will also say I attended 2 practices while they were there, which is a lot of practices, RJ. Two in a week for the Kraken is a lot. Both times, Maddie working with Belmar on face-offs.
Yep. He's been doing that all season. Like Belmar is just the teacher on faceoffs, working with Maddie, working with Shane when he was up here, working with the other centers. That's what he does, and you can see the results.
Yeah, definitely. Now, Maddie was maybe trying to, help out my argument a little bit tonight, as he won the big moment faceoffs, didn't win the majority of his faceoffs, down to 39% after a correction. I think he was one of the corrections. But yeah, that he is working on it, and that's something that's pretty much on schedule for centers. This I remember talking about way back after the expansion draft, RJ, when we were looking at this guy named Morgan Geekie that the Kraken took from the Carolina Hurricanes. And it was like, well, what's going on here? That we were expecting Jake Bean. What happened? Why, who's this Geekie kid? And one of the things I noticed was, wow, for a young guy, he wins a lot of faceoffs, because traditionally for the superstars, you go back and you look at Crosby or Taves or any of those guys, Stamkos, they don't get good at faceoffs until like year 3 in the league. That's really when they start taking a step forward and they jump, from around 50% to over 50%. And, Matty has been working on that. And I certainly could see him have that year 3 leap next year, where he just starts coming in and consistently winning those big draws for the Kraken and kind of takes that next step. That'll be really cool too.
Yeah, it will be.
To see as well. Coop also pointing out Bellemare only was 6 faceoffs taken tonight. They clearly don't trust him anymore compared to Matty. I wouldn't say it's that. Look, most teams don't deploy their 4th line out there for stoppages. That's more of an on the fly thing. You send them out there. You're not sending them out there all the time, because if you have like an offensive zone draw, you want a higher up line to be taking that, right? And when you have a line with Yanni Gord and that line he has, that's a pretty safe one to have out there for a defensive draw. Really, the Wenberg line is too. So you can see, Hackstall maybe wanting to lean in with those lines. So I don't know that it's a trust issue with Bellemare so much.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Rebecca on building new fans. Have we heard anything about a skills showcase this year? My friend's kids, 7 and 4, got really hockey crazy during my visit, and I'm dying to get them into the building. See, now that is the perfect kind of thing to build fans, RJ, and it has gone over extremely well both previous seasons that they've done that. I don't know when they announced it last time, because I don't think we've heard anything about that yet.
No, certainly not for this year. We haven't. I can't imagine that they wouldn't have it again. It's been such a success the first couple times that they had it. I imagine we'll hear at some point later in the season, because they happened. Let's see what I'm trying to
You're in
look
like
up
February, right?
Yeah, it was like late January, early February,
yeah.
The last couple of years. And so I think it's going to happen around that timeline. I think maybe probably after the Winter Classic would be my guess. I think everyone's focus right now is on the Winter Classic and that big event.
Yes.
And then, maybe give it a week or 2 after that, and you'll probably start hearing more about the skills showcase.
Yeah, I agree with that. Sean, Vegas isn't going anywhere. Yeah, I know. I know. I'm just pointing it out. Like, these things happen. Teams go through ups and downs over the course of a season. So that's that. Brent Krem paid $39,000 for 3 seasons at this point. No more excuses. Win or go away. Ron will be on a smoking hot seat come June. It is going to be an interesting offseason to see how that all kind of shakes out. For sure. Definitely. How are the Kraken better than season 1? Real question. I mean, look, they weren't a 500 team season 1. And they weren't, Grubauer was playing at historically bad levels. Like
that's the first thing.
Unreal bad levels. The defense was atrocious. It was like the breakaways from the beginning of that Vancouver game, but you knew that was going to happen 3 or 4 times every game. There was no structure to the power play or special teams at all. So you had really poor special teams. And then they just had no depth scoring, right? Like, for them to get 3 goals, they've been kind of getting 3 goals consistently right now this season. The amount of 4-3 games, we had another one tonight, RJ, that couldn't have happened year 1. They literally could not buy 3 goals a game if they tried year 1. So they are significantly better than year 1. They're not bottom 3 in the league standings wise, right? Like, these are the reasons that I would say. I'll let you speak, RJ, here.
Yeah, no, I think, you touched on a lot of them. The goal scoring is the biggest thing. They actually have guys who can put the puck in the net right now. And then also, I think, as much as the effort problems are there, you kind of ran into this wall with the skill. And at this time last year, because I went and looked this up, I saw the comment a little earlier. I was looking up what the Kraken's records were all 3 seasons after 23 games, which is what they've played now. So after year 1, they had 18 points in the standings. After year 2, in year 2 at this point, they had 33. And then right now they've got 21. So of course that's closer to year 1. But in year 1 at this point, yeah, they had 18 points. The record doesn't look all that different, but they were about to lose 12 of their next 15. And I don't see this year's Kraken team doing that, even just if you're going to go on the record.
Yeah. So that's what I would say. Like from a play standpoint, I mean, yeah, as Rebecca's pointing out, like we've got no Jeremy Lauzon this year, right? Like,
I mean, you look at the lineup. Go look at our projected or like lineup for one of those games
yeah,
last season. Pick a game and look at
yeah,
that team on paper.
yeah,
It's
it
just
was,
so different. Victor,
yeah.
even by the end of the year, Victor Rask was the 2C.
Hey.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Victor
I
Rask
hit a nerve there.
was a genius. It was a genius. Bert Krebs pointing out year one, they could have lost each game 10-0 and we didn't care. I'm with you there, right? Like everybody was so excited to have that team. We were so excited to have that team, RJ, that it didn't really matter. We were just excited to be talking about hockey. I will say, yeah. And again, not trying to like jump on you at all here, Burnt Creme. Just I do think that this team is significantly better in the sense that there are structures to things that, you know, year one, we were trying to figure out half the year, RJ, what the offensive scheme was. Like, what are they even trying
They didn't have
to do?
time to practice it. They couldn't get practicing because of COVID.
Yeah, so it was a lot rougher. They didn't have as many skilled players. You didn't have guys like Maddie that were going to be future of the franchise. You didn't have Shane Wright kind of able to come up and provide a little bit of a jolt, stuff like that. So yes, it maybe isn't as big a leap as maybe we would have hoped for as we were going through year one. When we, you know, if you were to come back and tell us year three, they'd be 3 points better that far into a season, I think we would have been like, oh, okay, that's not what I expected. But I still think that they've been better. Sean, here.
Sorry. Oh yeah, go ahead.
No, go for it.
Habak pointing out one thing I was thinking of. The Hayden Fleury was playing as a forward.
Yeah, that'll do it too. Here from Sean, media should talk about, this is the super chat, media should talk about the injury issues a little more. That is a very legit issue, though. To be fair, there has been inconsistency regardless of those injuries this season. Agreed. I don't know that it's an excuse that could be used for everything, so to speak. And look, it's one of those things. We could ask Dave Haxtell all day long about these sort of things. We could ask the players all day long about these sort of things. They're never going to say it, right? You don't want to give another team the bulletin board material. You don't want to give them anything that they could work with, whether it's a place to be targeting. Let's be real. That's how sports works. Or just the fact of, hey, this guy's on the ice. He's a little slow right now. Let's send out our big guns and try to beat him with speed, right? Let's go sign Carl Hagelin for this game just to take him out. You can't keep up with him. So I think that's, you know, it is one of those things that I think it's worth looking at now, just because it popped into my head for this game. I'm going to kind of try to pay attention to it for the next couple games. But as far as getting anything official from the team or the media being on the team to kind of disclose more, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, and as media, we're absolutely willing to talk about that as an issue because it is a very real issue. The problem is we don't know a whole lot, and so you don't want to speculate too much because, you know, so maybe a guy's fine and you think he might be banged up. Maybe it's the reverse. You just don't know.
Well, and the time that you have with the access is it's more limited than you think it is, right? When you're in that moment and there's like 7 of you and you've got just a couple minutes to ask a player questions, right? If you kind of know already that he's not going to give you an answer on something, you try to move on to a different question that you can get something you can work with if you're writing an article, or work with to come and give all of you guys on a deep dive or on a post game live. So if we could ask all the time about the injury stuff, but if they're never going to give us anything, it's kind of like wasting our chance to talk that day, you know?
Yeah. as you saw being here for the week, you know.
Yeah, just to put it blunt, it's just one of those things. But it's, it is something that I think I am surprised more people haven't mentioned outside of the context of talking to the team, which might be more so where you were going with this all, Sean, by the way, not to take it in that other direction. I do wonder if we start to see that, or if anybody else will kind of have that same thought about Grubauer after watching that tonight.
Yeah, no, I think so.
Light, I think we all just need to take a deep breath right now with the super chat there. We're all here for each other and for this team. It's true, though. That's completely true. I mean, look, there's still 97 people in here an hour in, RJ, of a pretty tough loss, right? A loss nobody expected or really wanted. And that right there is a big difference from season 1 to season 3.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I think that does say, but I think that says, something about our ability too to this is Emerald City therapy, right? After a game like this, to kind of talk through and work through things. And it feels like the pattern with games like this is, at the beginning, you kind of have to talk about the things that obviously went wrong. And there's certainly plenty to break down from this game on that. And we kind of did that. And I do think kind of calmer heads do prevail. Everything feels a little bit less charged, I think, by the time we get, around the hour mark.
Yeah.
And I think it is important to, to kind of remember that too. It doesn't help anybody to be kind of ranting about the stuff for an hour. But and I see Sean, responding, you're right. The same can be said very often. We're passionate. The team is underperforming. It's just a fact. Fans are going to fan. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think that, there's different ways that, that we all process this stuff. We want to be here for everyone, as a community, no matter how you process it.
Oh, definitely. And I'm with you, Sean. Like that's kind of the point, right? Of sports. It's the emotional roller coaster. I talk about this all the time. It's something we can be passionate about. Without that, sports doesn't exist. Right? Like,
Yep.
again, sports isn't like this built-in thing to society where it's like it needs to exist. Like it's a part of like, infrastructure for a city. You need arenas, you need a sports team to play in them. Like you don't. It only exists because we want it to. And part of that is to go on this emotional journey. It's the ultimate form of live unscripted entertainment, and especially a sport like hockey where a couple bad bounces can mean anybody could win a game, even the San Jose Sharks. And so that's yep, I had to. Sorry, but that's the way it is. So I'm right with you there, Sean, and I think we do a good job in this community. Everybody, not just me and RJ, but like all of you, in how all of these discussions take place and go down, and the different ideas that get thrown around and the different perspectives. And I think that is healthy whenever you do have a community. That's kind of one of the good things about it, is that you get multiple ideas, multiple perspectives, all that kind of different stuff in there, and that's what makes it good. It kind of elevates the whole thing when you have stuff like that going on. Speaking of which, Striatic here got my back, RJ. How dare RJ malign Corsi Wizard Victor Rask like that?
Yeah, that's one thing you can get heated about. Yeah, no, I get it. Getting the backlash for that. Maybe he's not the example I should have gone to, but he's the one I thought of first.
All right. Blue Devil, if the team isn't bad, but just playing bad, why is Hackstall still the coach? It may not be his fault, but it's his problem, and it's a problem he has not been able to solve. Look, if that is something that really, really continues, and the team, enters the off season with a fairly high lottery pick, and the effort issue was consistent throughout the year, I do think that's where, his seat is going to get pretty hot, because that is something. I'm with you, right? It might not necessarily be his fault, but that's something very much that he has to be responsible for. That's what that job title has attached to it. I think it would be interesting at that point, but I think they give him the full year.
Right. That's the case with any coach, but also, he's earned himself some leeway by having a really good result last season and getting a team within one game of the Western Conference Final. And, that doesn't earn you forever, but it earns you a long enough shot, certainly with the extension that he got. And also that effort was a big plus for those teams.
Yes,
he's given himself a chance to be able to turn this thing around.
Yeah, they would definitely going to give him the multiple chances to fix it, for sure. Let's see. I'll just go lightning round here at the end. Let's fire off some stuff here. Starting with Nicole, just gasped after hearing we had 33 points this time last season. November was a very good month last year.
It was. I was like, oh man, okay.
Wow, we were the Vancouver Canucks last year. Yeah. Yes, Grubauer was in the 700 save percentage. He's moved up to 800s now from Coop. Talking about that year 1 to year 3 jump there. Let's see. Habak Nylander, you are a Seattle Kraken. I mean, that is, if he makes it to free agency, I got to think that would be priority 1 for Ron Francis. Looking at things. Unfortunately, it'll be the priority 1 for a lot of teams. Let's see. Don't want to act like Vancouver fans from Kalen. We are so far from
amen
that.
To that. Man. Yeah, but no risk of that.
No risk of that whatsoever. I don't think we could ever get that bad. Definitely. Anyone know if Furcus has gained any weight yet from Shazzle Dazzle? I don't know. He hadn't really when he was there for dev camp. I don't know that he would have by now.
I don't think so.
No, but hey, reminder for everybody, Patreon Prospect Live tomorrow. I will be
Yes.
doing the first ever rankings of the Kraken prospects. So definitely going to be a good one there. Let's see. Sergey, thanks guys for doing this. Of course, love it, love it, love it. Valren, still skeptical of the high ranking of the power play earlier in the year, but I do wonder if having some more consistent units has helped them, and the scrambled units from the end of the game didn't. That's a good point to bring up, right? Because who's the Kraken's power play goal leader?
Jaden Schwartz.
He left the
I mean,
game.
he's the straw that stirs the drink on the power play a lot of times with that net front presence. Yeah, you'd certainly miss him if he's not there.
Right. I think there is something to be said for that, right? I guess I should have put that together when I was saying that the power play looked okay at the beginning of the game, and then it looked like a mess later on. Well, maybe it's because you were missing your best power play player, the guy who kind of helps make it all work. Maybe there would be some correlation there. So good for picking that one up. Haley, still love watching this team. It makes it so much sweeter when we see things start to click. Very, very true.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of good stuff down here. I think we'll maybe make this one the last one here from Hockey Fork. Very serious question. I haven't read this yet. I just saw a very serious question.
Okay.
It's obvious this team needs to add top talent with the money when the money opens up this offseason, but is it realistic to think that Francis will actually chase those pricey players? I think it is, RJ. I think given the amount that he's going to have and the fact that it's one player in Nylander, I think it is possible.
I know it's not in his resume to chase those players too. I mean, you look at the Vince Dunn contract; it's the highest he's given out, and prior to that, like the Grubauer contract was the highest AAV he's given out. So he doesn't have the history showing that he will. But I think this situation is different. You've got ownership who's willing and able to spend to the cap, maybe unlike some of those Carolina situations. And you've seen all the biggest contracts he's given out have been under Seattle. I think he acknowledges that at a certain point you have to start paying players, those high salaries. He's going to have to do it with Matty. He's going to anyway. So he's going to have to, break the record for that anyway. I think he's willing to do it. And I think certainly given the pressure, if they have an off season like this, you have to.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think that would play a role in it. I think Coop saying here, Fergus interview with the Moose Jaw coach said that he has put on weight. Okay. I'm not a hater, by the way. I'm just maybe a realist when it comes to the size being a limitation, potentially.
Yeah. Also, Jessica asking what time tomorrow for the prospect chat. It's 7 p.m., 7 o'clock tomorrow.
7 o'clock tomorrow. Going to be a lot of fun. Burnt Crime, Edmonton fired their coach 3 weeks in. Very different scenario, right? They're looking at very few years left remaining of McDavid and Draisaitl. You can't waste those. There's a lot of things that are very different about that than from the Kraken right now. He could have gained weight. I told you last time he needs to gain like 25 pounds. I don't think he's 125 pounds. It's oh my gosh. You know what? Zach Benson is 163. Okay. And he got hurt 5 games into his NHL career because of it. All right. And I love Zach Benson. All right. Nobody can call me a Zach Benson hater. So again, I'm being a realist. I'm not being a hater. It's just
be a fun prospect.
It's going to take time. It's going to take time. Oh man. It's just going to be endlessly it's going to be one long, where does Fergus rank discussion? Yikes. Can't wait. All right, everybody. Thanks you all so much for joining us for this one. Really appreciate it. Thanks to everybody who gave the super chats. And of course, thank you to Flat Stick Pub. Again, everybody, on Thursday, you don't even have to, just in the next post game live, I'm going to have a bunch of pictures I took from Flat Stick uploaded in here. I can show them off because it was so legit. Oh my gosh, RJ, it was so good.
Sweet.
So good. I cannot wait for people to go there. And look, you don't have to wait for us to go there and check it out. I definitely recommend it for everybody. You can go. Heard from the bartenders there. A lot of Kraken fans in there before the games. When there's 50% off the games, such as duffel board and mini golf. So lots of Kraken fans in there for that. I think we could do a little better post game when they get the $1 off beers at that South Lake Union location personally. So just throwing that out there for everybody.
All local beers too. Go check them out. They got a good selection.
Great stuff. All right, everybody. I'll see the patrons tomorrow for that Prospect Live chat. We'll see the rest of you all on Thursday in the post game.